hunch, my most recent commentary on atheism stirred quite a bit of YouTube response. I have thumbed through it, and there are a number of things I'd like to address coming out of it. First of all, I tried to do it via the text feedback on YouTube, but I thought this may be more effective because many of you wanted responses to similar criticisms. First of all, there was the kind of the emotional response. People like XTion responded saying, when are we going to learn to push religion aside and come together as adults? In other words, can't we all just get along? The truth is, in religious circles, religions divide over differences for good reasons. Faith is designed to be a series of principles by which one lives, and when someone disagrees with the principle that you hold, it's not necessary that they concede your point or that you concede theirs. The world's big enough to allow people to live in different ways. And no one is saying that you have to accept my view on the matter at this time in your life. I am going to say that the view that I hold has authority to it, and I'm going to stand on that belief because of great investigation on my part and as to why I believe that, but I'm not going to bully you, force you, convert you by the power of sword or any other compelling force. Then there were responses that said, Kevin, you talk about atheism, but you don't know anything about it. You talk about origins, but you don't know anything about them. They criticized my Bible thumperness, if you will. People like Ned M77 said, morality can't be just whims of a person, because now we're discussing morality at an intellectual level. It's not an arbitrary thing. All you've got proof is by your own assertion. Nell Flaccus said, and just because God doesn't exist doesn't mean there is no good or evil. Morals equals religion. Another person said, our morality is innate. And someone else said, how can you insist that if there is no God, there is no difference between good and evil? For those of you that have not followed that question very carefully, let me put it another way. I did say in the previous commentary that without the existence of God, objective good and objective evil cannot be known for sure. See, without an outside objective authority looking at the scenario in which man lives and saying there is good and there is evil, without an objective authority to that, all we're left with is the very fallible notions of what mankind says about it. You have different opinions on nearly everything than what I would believe. And the next person to you disagrees with you on probably more than you realize. The truth is, there are several billion people on the planet, and there are several tens of billions of opinions about everything under the sun. How could you ever come up with a consensus of what was absolute moral rightness or wrongness? Said a different way, if you see a good man and a bad man in society, if you see somebody like Billy Graham, who's given his life to the improvement of others' lives, or someone like the Pope, or someone else, you pick what you would consider a good man in your opinion, how would you compare them against a Hitler, an Osama bin Laden, a Saddam Hussein, or Joseph Stalin? What makes up the differences of them? It certainly is in what they believe, but even more than that, it's in how they behave and what their actions are. But friends, what is the objective standard? How do you arrive at an objective standard without an objective source giving us what the guidelines are? How do you know how to measure up a good man? After all, in the Muslim world, there are many people that believe that Osama bin Laden is actually a good man and that the planes hitting the towers was actually a good thing. Obviously, Americans disagree with that, and obviously those of us who lost loved ones on 9/11 would disagree with that. And that's why we have to know, what is the objective standard? Now, if we've asked that question, if we do the science, and yes, I said the science, look at the intelligent design of how we're created within each cell. There is a small motor that rotates in an organized way. There is an organized system of systems within our body that produces the cells that we use to grow, our respiratory, pulmonary, all the other systems that we have are all systematic. How did they didn't come out of nowhere. They didn't evolve out of nothing. There is no evidence for the theory of evolution. Evolution, in fact, contradicts laws of science, like the idea that things break down inside of closed systems. Evolution would argue that a rubber tire could grow fatter and fatter by absorbing rubber from the atmosphere upon the road that it travels upon, because there's rubber in the tar upon the roads that it's traveling. Therefore, it would become a bigger and bigger and better tire, a more sophisticated tire. But what does life tell us? The more you drive a single tire on any vehicle, the more it's going to wear out. Evolution's impossible. It's also a fraud. Many of the illustrations used to prop up the theory of evolution have been proven as such. So much as painting butterflies or shaving off the nose of a skull that was supposed to represent a certain evolution in the pragmatic explanation of the evolution theory. These things have been easily debunked, and that's why the theory of evolution is still, in fact, a theory. What science is saying, and in increasing numbers, is that if you look carefully at how all matter is constructed, even down to the DNA, there is a systemized language, there is a code. Where did that come from? Who designed it? How did it come about? We know that the organism doesn't become more complex. We know that instead, over time, everything tends to wear out. Things become less organized. So a code could be broken down over a period of time, but it couldn't be established. These are just some of the basic issues that atheism can't answer. Evolution doesn't answer them. And the four big ones that atheism still doesn't have an answer for is, where did man come from? How come we are separate and different than the animals around us? How does the mind function? How is it able to uniquely function in a world with so many species of other life forms whose brain doesn't work the same way? And what is that innate part of us that knows we're different than all the other species of created beings on the planet? Not only does it not answer where the mind came from, where human beings come from, but it does not answer the question of, why am I here? What is the purpose of the existence of humanity? What were we put on this planet for? And is this all there is? Good and evil, just one of the dilemmas that atheism doesn't answer. And friends, in all the responses I got to my last commentary, we didn't get anywhere close to having a proper response to it. Now, I know there are those of you that took a lot of cheap shots. You think I'm some sort of dolt, idiot. What were the other words used? Dork. Just don't care. In fact, I care too much about the debate to not respond. And that's why I came back to give the follow-up. We are actively pursuing Christopher Hitchens to get him on my radio show, and I will post a notice here on YouTube when that does in fact happen. Many of you asked if I would take Hitchens on one-on-one, and after the dismal representation that somebody did in putting Al Sharpton up for the God side the other night, the matter certainly has to be addressed. So look for Christopher Hitchens to appear both on my radio show, and if we can set up the cameras, we'll put it here on YouTube as well. In the meantime, all the insults aside, I didn't mind the barbing conversation. Let's keep it going. Let's keep talking. And I'll keep putting the thoughts out there and keep responding to them. Thanks for watching again. Kevin McCullough, MuscleheadRevolution.com. See you next time.